It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome to the program. Woohoo! It is not Super Bowl weekend. It is Grammy weekend. It is the weekend after my book was released. So thank you all for those of you who pre-ordered it and are continuing to buy it. That is fantastic. We've got links to where you can buy it, but you can go into any store, any place you like to get books. It's called The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. 13 ways to right your financial wrongs. Another way to right your financial wrongs is to come onto the program with us. Just send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. And we'll read that here live from the Capital One Bank Studios in New York. First up today is Sean. He is calling from Houston, Texas. Hello, Sean.
Hello, how you doing? It's an honor.
Oh, it's an honor for me. What can I do for you? What's happening?
I'm just curious if we're on track.
Okay.
Towards retirement. I mean, I'm 41. My wife is 40, and I'm at an income of about 100K, and my wife is at about 40.
Okay.
And so far, we have 401K is about 440. I have a Roth at about 20, and a taxable brokerage account at about 20, and an emergency fund at about 36.
That sounds.
And my wife have a Roth at about 12.
Okay. And does your wife also have a retirement plan through work or not? Or is she just putting in her Roth contributions?
She's just doing the Roth. She don't have a plan through work at all.
Okay. All right. Kids?
Yes, kids, they're still at home, but my daughter's 23 and my son is 20. My daughter's going to school. My son decided he didn't want to take the school path, so he's actually working.
Besides the fact that they're living with you, are they doing okay? Like,
yes.
Do you feel like you have to put money aside for them, do you think?
No.
Okay, Great. That's good. Tell me about the house. How much is it worth?
The house is worth $400, and I have a balance of $310. We just bought the home in I think it was May of not May. I'm sorry. It was August of this past year.
Okay, great. That's great. And the mortgage that's outstanding?
$310.
30, 15. What kind of mortgage?
I'm on a 30, but we actually paying it like it's a 15. So we're paying an extra $600 a month towards the principal.
Ah, interesting. What's the interest rate on that mortgage?
3.9.
Okay. And you said that you are putting how much into that 401k of yours? You said it's worth $440,000. Are you putting in the limit? Are you putting in the 401k limit for the year, or are you putting in less than that?
I'm putting in the limits because what I do is towards the last 3 months, I'll bump the percentage up to like 22 or 25% so I can try to max it out.
Fabulous.
But what happens is the last few years what's been happening is I'm pushed to that, what you call it? It's called the...
Oh, when you put in too much, like an excess contribution?
Well, highly compensated employee.
Yeah.
So... Yes.
So you can't put in as much. So they dial it back for you a little bit.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Look, I think you're putting away a great chunk of money. It's fantastic on your $140,000. That's first of all as your income. And is your wife putting away? She's maxing out her Roth. She's putting in the limit there, the $6,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, you're saving a lot of money. I do think you're on track. There's one little tweak I want to make. It's gonna bug you, but I'm gonna just put it out there. Okay. I really don't think you need to make an extra $600 a month payment on the mortgage because your rate is kind of cheap, and I think you might be better off taking that extra $600 and popping it into your brokerage account. Because I think that you're so young, right? You're 41 years old, right? And so,
Yes, ma'am.
and so when I think about a 41-year-old, you probably are not going to need this money for at least 20 years. And I have
Right.
to think that over 20 years that you are going to do better than 3.9%. Let's say it's 3% because, you do get some tax benefits still of having a mortgage, right? And
Right.
so I think that you're going to do better in a brokerage account over the next 20 years than 3% or so that you would basically be earning if you paid down that mortgage. And so one way to think about the mortgage is this. You don't make the extra payments yet. While you still have that mortgage interest rate deduction, take advantage of it. Then, by the way, you may want to look at it and say, okay, well, I think that at some point the mortgage interest deduction is not useful for me. Maybe it is or it isn't, but let's just say it isn't. Then you can start paying that down more aggressively. But in the meantime, you bulk up the investment side of your portfolio, of your asset base, right? You have like those liquid assets that you can tap into. And then you can always use the money later to pay it off. And I think that you'll end up probably paying this down faster than the 30 years. It wouldn't surprise me that, simply because you are paying and doing a good job, and then all of a sudden by the time you switch over, maybe that's in 15 years or so, where you no longer have the mortgage interest deduction, that you then flip it and you say, okay, let me start paying this down. And I bet you paid that down really fast. Now, so I think that that's the only piece that I would really be changing in a big way. Let me ask you a couple of other things. In terms of the kids, you claim the 20-year-old as a dependent or not?
I do.
Okay, good. We'll take it, I just want to make sure. And so do you think, which one is going to school? The 20-year-old? Is that what you said?
The 23.
Okay.
The 23,
and are you
yes.
paying for that, or how's that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
just paying
I'm
that
paying
out of your cash flow?
Yes.
All right. I think you're in great shape. I think you're on track. And I think that you've done exactly what you should be doing. The one little change I would make is let's not pay down that mortgage. Everybody out there, I want you to think about this. You've got a mortgage, it's 3 or 4%. And, for some people, that mortgage interest deduction may be the only way that you break into the itemized deductions out there. One thing I should note that not everybody is taking advantage. Not everyone's an itemizer anymore. But I have a feeling that Sean might be, just because that's a good chunk of money as a mortgage interest deduction there. But if you've got a mortgage and you're inclined to pay it off, you might want to ask yourself this question. Is my money better used going someplace else? If you're going to take $600 a month, like Sean has $600 a month and puts it down on a mortgage, and the alternative is you just spend $600 on crap, then sure, pay down the mortgage. But I'm hearing from Sean that he and his wife are incredibly diligent. They're saving a lot of money. And there is this great advantage of having liquidity, having money that is already been taxed in a brokerage account as you approach retirement. And I think that is something that we need to be stressing more and more. Liquidity, it gives you options. It gives you a little bit of a safety net. And that is something that could be really helpful down the line. All right, you're listening to Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, all you have to do is go onto the website, JillOnMoney.com. Click on the Contact Us button, and we will get you on the air live. We'll be right back.
(401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a question, maybe something that's been bugging you for a little while, maybe something that's just kind of on your mind, or maybe something that's just cropped up because it's the beginning of tax season, give us a holler. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. Does anyone tweet questions at us? A few. If you want to, it's @JillOnMoney. And you can go to our Facebook page, I guess, and ask questions. Mark, you check that? Yeah, he sort of does. He mostly does. I try to stay off social media at least until Mark escalates it to me because there's too many mean people. I'm very thin-skinned. I'm fragile. Okay, let's go take a call. Roger's on the line from Buffalo. Hello, Roger. Are you a Buffalo Sabres fan?
Absolutely.
Oh, nice. You're having a good season.
Yes, we are.
All
I
right.
like the coach.
I know. Good for you. I love being on WBEN and talking hockey. It's sort of like there's a few markets where I just get to be on the air. We do financial stuff, but then when the anchor interviews me at the last thing, we have 30 seconds for hockey, which is great, right?
Right.
All right, Roger, what's on your mind? How can I help you out?
Well, Jill, I just reached 60, and have a pension, 2 pensions, by the way, and my wife is still working. And I was thinking about taking Social Security early. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Tell me a little bit more about yourself. So you're 60 and you've just retired. Your wife is still working. How much money are you going to be collecting in these pensions?
Roughly 98,000.
Wow, that's awesome. Good for you. And how much does your wife earn right now?
Roughly about 65,000.
Okay. And if you looked at 98,000 and 65,000 and we tally this up, you pay your taxes, can you support yourselves on that amount of money, on that income right now?
Yes.
All right. And tell me about other stuff. You got other money saved?
Yes, we roughly have about 2.1 million saved.
That's awesome.
And about the bulk of that, over half is in our 457 deferred compensation. And the other, about 25% is in U.S. bonds. So we have a lot of tax-deferred savings that we're going to be paying the interest on. The interest will be coming due.
Right. So when you say you have like straight up like double E bonds?
Mostly I bonds.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Yes.
So you're going to have some taxes that are going to be coming due as this stuff happens. But the money that's in the 457 plans, you don't have to take money out of that until you turn 70 and a half. So
Right.
we can defer that for a little bit longer. Okay. So here's the thing. Are you in good health? You're happy. Everything's good right now. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. The thing about taking Social Security early is I don't think it's necessary. You could, yes, as of age 62, you are certainly entitled to take that Social Security. And that's perfectly legit, no problem. The thing is that if you take it early, before your full retirement age, which is probably around 66 for you, then what happens is the benefit you receive is permanently reduced. And why is that important? Because it's really unnecessary. The reason many people take Social Security early is they don't have a pension or they got downsized at the wrong time. They're unlucky and they need income. You guys aren't in that situation. And in fact, what I would really be thinking about is why don't we let that Social Security benefit accrue and get bigger and bigger? Because for every year that you wait, you're going to get more money. And so I would wait at least until your full retirement age, and I might even wait until I'm age 70. That's when you max out your benefit. And essentially, you get a guaranteed increase in retirement benefit of 8% a year. And I can't find a guarantee of 8% a year anywhere. So I think it would behoove you to wait at least until your full retirement age and don't keep paying taxes on that. And then what I think you really have to start thinking about is a strategy to deal with the I bonds. Because as you said, when you cash those in, there's going to be a tax event. So maybe what you do is you wait until your wife stops working. When do you think she's going to call it quits?
In about 2 years.
So maybe what I would do is in 2 years, will she also get a pension or not?
Yes.
How much will her pension be?
Roughly about, it'll be over 40,000.
So you guys are going to have $140,000. I'm just giving you ballpark, $140,000 of income or so when she retires. That will put you in the 22% top marginal tax bracket. You may want to, at that time, start to slowly unload those I bonds. And the reason why you want to do it slowly is you don't want to pop up into another tax bracket. But it's good to pay the tax that's due. Your tax rate is not going to go down much. So what I would probably do is while marginal tax rates are as low as they are, I'd start to try to unwind some of those I bonds and pay the tax that's due. Let the 457 plan stay in there. You don't need the money. And refrain from taking Social Security because that's only going to put you even in a higher tax bracket. So I think you've got this really cool window of opportunity where you could start taking out some of the money from the I bonds, paying the tax due little by little, right? And then when if you were taking Social Security at that same exact time, you would actually pop into a higher marginal tax bracket. So if we don't need the Social Security and we don't have to take it, we can start taking some of the I bond money, selling those I bonds, paying the tax due, staying in this low tax bracket. And I think that would really be a good option for you guys. And the thing that's really, I should have really led with this, which is you guys have done a fantastic job of saving. So congratulations. Let me start with that. And then say that it seems to me also that you've done really smart things in that savings, in that you've not taken on too much risk and you've got these pensions and you're going to live a great life. So let's just try to use the tax code to your advantage. That would be the main thrust of the advice here. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Fantastic. Then go Sabres. You know, I love Kyle Oposo. He was an Islander. And I and I hope he's okay because he had a very weird thing happen to him last year. But I think he's okay now, right?
Oh, yes. Now, I always have a fondness for Pat LaFontaine. He was an Islander. He was a Sabres, and he was an Islander.
That's right. A great of all time. Thank you so much for calling, Roger. Good luck to your Sabres.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Take care. I feel like we should be having like a hockey podcast on the side, Mark. It would be fun. You and Jackie would have to host it. I'd just be the person, yelling in the background. All right. Let me see if there's another. I think I have some more. Hold on a second. I think I have another. Oh, you know what I wanted to get to? We had a caller last week ask about long-term care insurance providers. And, I want to be clear that this is a tough thing because long-term care insurance became very unprofitable for many insurance companies, so they got out of the business. Some of the companies that I think are highly rated and seem committed to the product and also seem like they're not getting out of that business include John Hancock, Prudential, MetLife, MassMutual, and Genworth Financial. That's the old GE Capital. Those are the big ones that I think are probably going to be your best bets. What you want to do is you want to find somebody who will help you with long-term care insurance, who will not be just selling you some weird product that's going to cost a ton of money. You really want to find somebody who's going to help you, number one, assess whether or not you need long-term care insurance. Number two, be able to compare these companies' offerings in a way that makes sense for you. And number three, guide you. And one of the things that's really important here is not everyone needs long-term care insurance. So if you think you do need it, give us a holler. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. During the break, go to the website, JillOnMoney.com. You can read, listen, watch, sign up for our free weekly newsletter. When we return, more of your questions. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back with Jill on Money. And if you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. So easy to get in touch with us. All you have to do is send an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Also, by the way, when you send that email, we may try to wrangle you, get on the air live. Otherwise, we'll try to address it during the course of the program. We got a question about gifting money from a retirement account to a daughter. And the question is, who pays taxes? Does the recipient have to count the money as income? Okay, so if you are already over the age of 59 and a half, any money you take out of a retirement account has to go to you directly, and you pay taxes at whatever your income tax level is at that time. And if you then gift that money to your child or anybody, they don't have to count it as income. You don't have to count it as part of your gift tax as long as it's $15,000 or less. So that is the answer to that question. Okay. Here's a question about a couple. Let's see if Ron, who says, my wife and I sold a house. We purchased it in 2016. We treated the house as a rental where my daughter, who was living in it, would make payments to us. We kept loan amortization schedule for her payments. And we made arrangement that any appreciation in value after selling costs would be hers when the house is sold. The house sold for a bunch of money. After selling, proceeds are about $155,000. Her share of the proceeds, $45,000. No mortgage on the house. So our proceeds are $110,000. Is there any way of out of paying capital gains other than purchasing a like-kind property, a Section 1031 transfer? No, there is not. So that's easy. Are there any tax consequences for distributing the funds to our daughter? We were planning to pay off her college debt of $30,000, then gifting the rest to avoid having to file a gift tax return. I would ask your CPA, but I don't think so. And I also think that if you pay off I don't know if you pay off those college loans directly. I don't think you're going to count that towards your gift tax exclusion. But again, check with a CPA just in case. How would you recommend we invest the 110? We've got moderate retirement accounts. They want to provide some help for another kid. So we want a somewhat liquid investment with low to moderate risk. Well, I mean, I guess that what you would do is just then put that money into a plain taxable account. You can do that at any big brokerage firm, right? You can do that at, Vanguard or at T. Rowe Price or at TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab. And you can put the money in there, and you should make sure that you make it a very moderate amount of risk, something you can live with. If it's just low risk, you could keep maybe the bulk of it in cash. I don't know how soon you might, when you might want to access the money. It seems like it's sort of fluid. And maybe you need to make sure that you talk to your son about his timing and how much you'd really be willing to contribute. I guess I need a bigger picture of like what else is going on in your life, because I feel like I can't give you great advice unless I know a bit more. So follow up with me and give me some more stuff. I'm interested. Okay? Really. Here is a note from Mike, who says, I'm writing to you with my first cup of coffee this morning to let you know how interesting your article was in the Sun Sentinel, Florida. So he wrote this in December when it was being the market moving around so much. And I just want to tell you, thank you for all of your information. I enjoy the way you write. Do you have any books or websites? Yes, we have a website. It's called JillOnMoney.com. And yes, I have a book, and it's called The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. And I'd love for you to be able to get that stuff. Okay, so you can go to JillOnMoney.com. You get everything. I write a column every week. The papers decide when they're going to actually run them or not. So that's up. Call up the Sun Sentinel. Tell them you want to make sure that you get a little more Jill. The question here at the end, where do you advise me to invest this year? I would say invest in your diversified portfolio, be consistent, and please make sure you understand the risk that you are taking in that portfolio. That's incredibly important. Okay? Really. God, I'm clicking through these now, Mark. Here is a question from Eric, who says, I've been listening to your podcast for over 6 months. I have a feeling I know your answer to my question. I just want your perspective and validation. I'm considering taking my investment accounts from my financial advisor at Morgan Stanley and putting it into Vanguard's personal advisor services or Betterment. Both would be with access to an advisor. The only reason I would move is concern about fees and the long-term proven benefits of index funds. I'm 45. My wife is 40. We have an income of $310,000. We're maxing out our retirement accounts. We've gotten our emergency reserve. I feel moving money into Vanguard would mimic the advisor's suggested portfolio, but with lower expenses is the way to go. The advisor also recommended a number of individual stocks in a more aggressive portion of our portfolio. I'm constantly reading and hearing, forget individual stocks that try to increase returns or beat the market, invest in index funds only. For that reason, I'm thinking of moving my money. I'm fairly confident I can get similar performance for less cost. We're paying 1% of assets under management. I wonder how much money that person has. Okay, long story short, yeah, we love this idea. I think that you don't have to replicate, exactly what this guy is doing. What you need to do is make sure you've got a portfolio that takes into account when you need this money, right? And how comfortable you are with risk. You are in your 40s, you got 20 years, life's good right now. I wouldn't go nutty with the risk, but on the other hand, I think you can kind of hang in there. And I agree that you don't need to invest in any stocks and just instead invest in index funds. And you will find that that savings, let's say that you pay 1% now and maybe you're going to 25 or 30 basis points, that 0.7% or so, that's going to go straight to your bottom line with zero risk. And boy, there is nothing better than a risk-free way to boost your portfolio. So good luck. Thank you so much for writing. And thank you right now for listening. If you've got some time on your hands during the break, hop on to the website, JillOnMoney.com. You can read what we write. You can listen to what we've done. You can watch TV and videos. You can sign up for our free weekly newsletter. And you can subscribe to our sister podcast. It's called Jill on Money. Okay, we'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You are back with Jill on Money. And if you've got a financial question, we want to hear from you. Okay? We love it. Mark and I are digging out from last year still. Okay, I think we're pretty much in December emails. What are you laughing at me for? He's laughing. He's like looking at me like, you think we're in December emails, but I still have some from November that are kicking around. But well, here's one from Linda, and she wrote this on December 16th. I love what you're doing, especially to empower women. Yes! Good. Okay, here's her question. How many months or years should one have squirreled away to sustain, if necessary, in retirement? That is such a variable question. So let's talk about retirement for a second, right? The way to think about retirement is, how much money do I need on a monthly basis? You notice how every single thing I talk about starts with that question? What a pain in the neck I am. But that is very much essential to understand what you need to be doing with your money. You must have a very good idea of your needs. Then what you do is you look ahead and you say, okay, well, how much Social Security am I going to get? How much pension income am I going to get? Am I lucky enough to be the beneficiary of a big fat trust? Like Mark, he's an heir. All right, just a joke. That's a total joke. He's not an heir. But if you're going to get money, maybe it's from real estate. Maybe it is like you're a trust. You're a beneficiary of a trust. You add up all that money, and then you say, okay, Social Security, pension, any other income, does that cover what I need? If it doesn't, how much money do I need to save to generate the gap between what I need and what's coming in? All right. Now, how do you do this? Don't stress. I found this wonderful website, and I really encourage people to check this out because if you don't want to go to a financial planner to do this yourself, you can actually pay a subscription fee to ES Planner, esplanner.com. And it's $149, and they'll take you through this whole process. It's very cool. Okay, so you need to figure out how much you have to save. So let's pretend that you need to have $2,000 a month from whatever your investments are. Well, I would suggest that you probably need to have about $1 million saved by the time you retire, because that $1 million will generate about 30 grand. Most of that money is going to be taxable, so you have to pay tax, and then you get down to like, oh, I'm at $24,000 a year, and that's $2,000 a month, and now I'm okay. Okay. Now, if you are questioning about, so that's sort of like your how much do I need to have squirreled away question. But if you're saying how much money do I need in safe money, Linda, that's a little bit different, because you hear me say on this show all the time that what you need is to have 6 to 12 months of your general living expenses in the bank. When you retire, that emergency reserve safety net, that number has to be more. It has to be that you have your 1 full year of expenses in the bank. So if we go back to your original question of, let's say that you needed $24,000 a year from that portfolio of yours, you better have that 24 grand squirreled away. I would even suggest 1 to 2 years. People hate that advice, but I think it's the right advice. Really important. Okay? Really important. All right. I hope that helps. Okay, here's Jana, who says that she and her partner have whole life policies on each other. They're 69. They've been in place for 15 years. How difficult, if even possible, would it be to change the policies to term policies? First of all, why? Let's go to that point. Why? We do not want you to be converting to term life insurance unless you need insurance. And if you do need insurance for the rest of your lives, then keep what you have. Don't worry about it. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. Okay. Oh, by the way, here's someone who listens to me prattle on. Thank you, Marilyn. I love you. My new iPhone. She says I didn't make a mistake because she got the iPhone XR, and she says too big. It hangs out of her pocket, and the weight of it unties my shoelace. Anyway, she says better camera. And she said, I thought the XS was too expensive. She says, be sure to armor up your glass-backed phone with a good case. I do have that. Also recommended David Pogue's iPhone, The Missing Manual, 12th edition, reference for new iPhones. Yay, I love David Pogue. I've met him in the, he gets his hair cut here at CBS because he comes into the studio every so often. Anyway, so thanks for those emails, and thanks for keeping me on the straight and narrow. Usually I have to call my friends at CNET to get all the information. So that is delightful when I can turn to my listeners to get the information I need. I am no technology whiz, so I'm usually I just do like the latest version, but 5 years late. So I upgraded, but it was so much later. So there's that. Anyway, doing all right, huh, Mark? Blowing right through all of these. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. And there's so many things that you can find on our website. Mark is running the website. He does such a fabulous job. So if those of you who are hearing this for the first time, you're hearing our show, you can go to JillOnMoney.com. For those of you who are reading articles that I write and you want past articles, go to JillOnMoney.com. You can read all the stuff that I am writing on an ongoing basis. You can listen to past shows. You can watch TV segments and videos. You can sign up for our free weekly newsletter, and you can buy my darn book, because I got to get my publishers off my back. They are killing me. So it's The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. That is the book. JillOnMoney.com is where you can find all this. Okay, we'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Very easy to get in touch with us. Number one, you can just go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, click on the Contact Us button. Easy peasy. Or send us an email, askjill@JillOnMoney.com. We got a note from Margie who says, you don't give advice to the self-employed. Come on. I do that all the time, but let me do it anyway. Margie's self-employed. She pays $1,000 a month for health insurance with a high deductible. She's healthy. Can you point me in the direction of affordable health insurance for the self-employed? affordable is your key number there, word there rather. So the thing is, if you're a small business owner or self-employed, you just have limited options. So you should I don't know where you live, but I think, of course, check out healthcare.gov. That's the main place to purchase insurance. I think that's worth looking into. See if maybe I don't know if you're going to do much better. The Silver Plan. I like associations. I think that associations that are like there's I think the National Association of Self-Employed, or NASE, that might be worth it. Unfortunately, do some research. A lot of alumni organizations have it, but sometimes the cost of your association fee could be greater than the benefit you get. There are professional employer organizations, and I think that that's about it. You got to do a little research, but that's one of the downsides of being self-employed. You don't get those benefits, and I think that for a lot of folks, that is something that comes into it's sort of like the glossed over thing. Oh, I'm going to be self-employed. It's going to be so fabulous. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. And then you're like, oh, I don't get a lot of my benefits. Wait a minute. Yeah, you don't get a lot of benefits. That's it. Good luck. Thank you so much. And give us a holler and let us know how you do. That's the end of hour one. If you've got any financial questions, we'd love to help you out. It's very important that you do this. Just don't go at it alone. We can help. Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Okay, stay tuned. We got another hour to go. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
All righty, Super Bowl's over. Grammy Awards this weekend. But more importantly, it's Jill on Money. And we are broadcasting live from the Capital One Bank studios. And this is the first weekend that you can buy my book. Just buy it, not pre-order it. Buy it. And I implore you to do so. Should we put the segment from CBS This Morning in the show notes as a tease, Mark? Yeah, let's do that. The book is called The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, 13 Ways to Right Your Financial Wrongs. And we cover a lot of ground. Remember, this book came about because so many of you have sent fantastic questions and have asked my advice and Mark's advice. And this is a compilation of not just your specific situation, but the most common mistakes that we've run across. So, as a result, we put a book together. Oh, I did. But Mark's promoting the heck out of it, and he's the best. We had, I'm recording this the day after the book party, which means I have a little bit of a headache because I had a big scotch at the end of the book party because I ate nothing. Mark, did you eat any of the food? You didn't? I heard it was pretty good. So come on. Anyway, go buy the book because it would help us. And I'm incredibly competitive with myself. So I have a number in mind of how many books I want to sell. And if you help me get there, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kiss you all every single weekend, more than I already do. All right, let's do some emails. If you've got a financial question, and by the way, if I did use your financial question, I usually change the names unless you had appeared on the show, in which case, you had already agreed. But that said, this is a follow-up question from somebody who wanted to know whether it was wise to fund a 529 education account for 7 grandchildren. And I said, I need more information. So she says the $100,000 that we would use comes from savings and checking accounts. We've got 2 pensions. Wow. And some income from an annuity. We receive only $333 a month from my husband's Social Security. I don't have Social Security because I worked in the public schools. I'm 78. I've taken my required minimum distribution, and that increases our taxes. We'll end up paying $6,000. I mean, look, if you want to do this and you've got plenty of money, I say it's great to do it. Don't use all of the money that is in your savings and checking accounts. Don't burn it all up on 529 plans. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, more of this than I actually had thought, more of my commitment than I actually thought that I could handle, then you can pull back. It's okay. All right, next question. We're going to bang through this. We've got so many emails. Michael writes, my wife and I are thinking we'll be able to retire in 5 to 10 years. In 5, we'll be 55, 10 years short before being able to start Medicare. What options are there for us? Well, you're going to have to go to healthcare.gov. That's number 1. Number 2, Michael, the other place you possibly could go is some sort of association. And third, your other choice is, hey, you know what? Keep working or work part-time for a place where you can get health insurance. Next up. What do we got? D. I'm going to just say D because the name is very descriptive. Is 72. Husband is 98. Oh, boy. They sold their home they sold a bunch of raw land in Oregon. They are full-timing it in Arizona. I've been investing in the stock market. I want to stop doing that. We own a home. We own our current home. It's worth $200,000, no debt. Let's see, $500,000 sitting in cash in a Fidelity account, $400,000 in cash in a Schwab account, $250,000 in real estate. What do you think? What do they think? They want to go into a fund. You know what I would do, D? I think you guys actually need a game plan. You probably don't need to take a ton of risk at this point in your lives, but I think you probably should go talk to somebody. And by the way, Fidelity has some personal financial advice that's available there. I would do that, or I would seek a fee-only financial planner who can help you out. You can go to NAPFA, N-A-P-F-A, napfa.org. That's where you can find one. Okay, market. Let's see, what else? Margaret says, what are the laws on gifting and transferring assets annually? What are the limits? $15,000 per person. That's the number. $15,000 per person. And beyond that, you have, if you're a couple, you're a married couple, you can give $30,000. There is a lifetime limit of gifting that you can do. But I would start with the $15,000. And by the way, if you actually pay bills directly, you can get around that. So, for example, let's say that you wanted to pay someone else's bill for tuition. That's outside of the gift tax rules. So you might want to consider that as well. Okay. Here's a, unfortunately, here's a November question, which we never got to, which was, should I buy an index fund now that the market has dropped? Which made me laugh because if you had done that at the time you said to do, you wanted to do it, the market would have gone down even more, but now has come back. So here's a good lesson in market timing, which is actually one of the dumb things smart people do with their money. They try to time the market. And I did that once, and I write about that extensively. Mary is financially secure, $3 million invested, owns her home, her car, paid for kids' college, and wants just to get her feet wet into investing. Rather than solely relying on my financial planner, I want to avoid fees, thinking of starting with $10,000. Thoughts? Hey, my thought is go for it. You should definitely invest in some index funds. Don't just do stock funds, though. Do stock, bond, like build yourself a portfolio. Do it with no-load index funds and see how you do. I think that would be perfect. Now, quick question before we head to a break. Dennis has a question about required minimum distributions. So the question starts with, we're married and filed jointly. Can all of our RMDs be added and withdrawn from only one account? No. You must do it based on your social and your spouse's social. Okay? So you must do that. Second question, instead of taking an RMD, can we take a distribution from one account that would cover our RMD requirements from all of our accounts? No. So you can consolidate all of your IRA accounts, and then you have to do and you can do that from one account, but you can't do it with your 401k. And a distribution, if you're over the age of 70 and a half from a 401k, has to be a separate issue. So I hope that helps. Got through a lot, huh, Mark? Pretty good. Here's one. How much? Yeah, one more. Bonds. What do you think about bonds? I have 3 years left for retirement. I love bonds. Bonds are great. Mark, bond guy. What was that dude's name? Oh, I loved him. He came from out of town. Come from Florida? He was the bond guy that we had on. Anyway, I love bonds, but that doesn't mean you should put all of your money in bonds, just like you shouldn't put all of your money in stocks. We want you to have your money spread out and have a distribution that reflects your risk tolerance and your goals. That's called an asset allocation plan. And it usually starts when you have not just a asset allocation plan, but a financial plan. Woo! That sounds good. All right. It's exciting. It's great. We're going to come back with more of your questions. If you want to reach us, ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. That's our address. Send us a note. Okay, we'll talk.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back with Jill on Money. The day that my book came out was also the day of the State of the Union. And just a quick fact check on a few things that the Prezi said, in case you were wondering. It's so weird. Like, some of this stuff is so easy to actually look up. I'm sure he has this huge staff that can do this. But anyway, 5.3 million jobs have not been created. 4.9 million have been created. The president seems to start the clock at Election Day as opposed to January 1st, which is really what you should do. 4.9 million jobs created. He says 600,000 manufacturing jobs. The number is actually 436,000. But I got to say, 436,000 manufacturing jobs is darn good, because that's just for 2 years. And there were only 900,000 manufacturing jobs under Obama. Someone pointed this out to me. It was very wise that we are still, even with the gains that we've seen, 1 million jobs fewer in manufacturing than we had before the Great Recession started. It's amazing. Wages adjusted for inflation in the last couple of years is up 1.3%. Economic growth is not the best ever in the universe. GDP under Trump so far, 2.8% quarterly. Under Obama, 2.1%. The Trump one is going to go down because growth is slowing. There are more people working than ever, but that's because the U.S. population has actually increased. And here's my favorite one, $6.7 billion collected as a result of tariffs. However, more than that, I think $7 or $8 billion being spent on aid to farm workers who were farmers who were negatively impacted from the tariffs. So whatever we're collecting, we're paying out, and a little bit more so far. We'll see. It might get better, truly. Okay, let's get to your financial questions from Jan, who is retired, 65 years old. She's got savings about $100,000 in a brokerage account. For most of 2018, it earned around 9%, but then lost a bunch of money in the last quarter. Should I take the money out and put it into a savings account or a money market account? No, no, no. You should not. Listen, if you're investing for the long term, and you are going to get the ups and downs of the markets. I'm sorry to say that is going to be a ride sometimes that you don't like. But you got to stick with it. You cannot let your emotions guide you. You really can't. It's one of the classic mistakes that we all get roped into. We let fear or greed drive investment decisions. Never going to be a good outcome. All right, Joyce writes, I have invested in a managed mutual fund, which in a balanced portfolio invests in federal tax-exempt bond funds. These funds, however, are not totally tax-free in New York State. Would I be better off investing in a New York State tax-free bond fund? Yeah. If you live in a high-tax state, and it's a big state like a New York or a California or New Jersey, there are state-specific municipal bond funds, and using those funds will help you sidestep taxes on the interest. Now, that said, you have to be in a high enough tax bracket to make this all work. So what you should be doing is whoever sold you that fund, you should find out what your tax equivalent rate of return, tax equivalent interest rate that you need to earn, which would compare those muni bonds and taxable bonds. Because even though the munis have no interest, it's lower interest. You might actually be in better shape buying a taxable bond and then finding, hey, I pay my taxes, I'm still better off than the muni. So you've got to run that comparison, or that person has to run that comparison on your behalf. And if they're not doing that, they're not really an advisor. Truth. Okay, here is Ed, who wants to know about qualified charitable contributions from an IRA. Do you have to be 70 and a half to qualify for this, not to be a taxable distribution? Yes. Yes, you can start withdrawals at 59 and a half, but you have to be 70 and a half to make the qualified charitable distribution. I hope that's right. I think that's right. So we have a question about required minimum distributions to a charity. And this one is from Tom. Is it possible for a traditional IRA holder to direct a trustee to make a required minimum distribution payment directly to a qualified charity? Yes, this is called a qualified charitable distribution. And when you do this, you have to take this distribution, right? Your RMD every year after you turn 70 and a half. And when you take that distribution, normally you've got taxable income. By diverting it to the charity, you don't have to take the income. And so effectively, you don't have to pay as much in taxes. So you have to make sure that you really describe this to your brokerage house and make sure it goes directly to the charity, not to you. And it can work beautifully. It really can. It's so good. Okay, Catherine writes, my husband and I need to know how to qualify for a tax benefit that I heard that's called as a pre-tax $220,000 benefit. You know what you might have heard about? You might have heard about a defined benefit plan that some small business owners and family businesses put in place. And when you have that kind of plan, you can defer up to I think it's now $225,000, up to $225,000. But it's not every single year. It's based on your life expectancy and how much money you have in the account. The best way to explore this is to do so with a fee-only financial planner or with a tax preparer who really understands the rules, because there are some very important rules, okay? So please do check that out. It's a great way to do it. Again, it's a defined benefit plan. It's basically your own pension plan. All right, here's a 19-year-old full-time student who's in New York City who wants to develop good spending and saving habits. But it's been a struggle. He says, I find myself going for guilty pleasures whenever I look at the bank account and I see I have more than enough money to spend. Could you recommend some sort of guide or steps I could take towards developing good habits without feeling discouraged whenever I tend to fall off track? So fantastic. Great question. Look, to do this, you want to automate as much as possible. So the first thing I would do is I would start tracking this with some sort of online program or some sort of app. So the app I would look at is something like Mint.com or Clarity Money, or maybe even something from your bank account. And what you want to try to do is link things up, and you want to try to say, okay, I want to have this much in savings. This is how much I can spend, and really track it. And I think when you're tracking it like that, number one, you can automatically start saving more money. But more importantly, number two, you get much more in touch with your spending habits. And you tend to not be quite as crazy. I want to just laud you as a 19-year-old asking that question, because I cannot even believe it. It's just fabulous. It just goes to show you, Mark, that the millennials, these younger people, they're on it. They are on it. Sue says is afraid of the stock market because of losses. And so she says, I think I did a stupid thing. Hold on a second. My main goal is not to go beneath the initial money I received after my husband died. My portfolio is nearly $1 million. I did a stupid thing, tracking monthly payments from an annuity. I don't need the money to meet my expenses, so I want to know where to invest it and not lose the principal. You know what, Sue? You need an advisor. I don't know what the stupid thing was. Did you buy an annuity or what have you? But you need someone to help you out, because this is, to me, something that is incredibly important that we do. We seem to start talking about investing without any rhyme or reason and without giving real thought as to why we're doing what we're doing. And if you don't have a game plan, it is hard. And if you cannot develop that game plan and that asset allocation plan on your own, you're going to run into big trouble. So please, 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 before you start buying annuities or taking advice from people that you don't really know where their intentions are, those are 2 chapters of my book, The Smart Things Dumb People Do With Their Money. Before you start doing that, you need to take a deep breath and consider what your long-term goals are. All right? We got through a lot in that one. Mark, I think we're out of November almost with financial questions. If you've got one, shoot us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. Askjill@jillonmoney.com. Here's a note from David, who is confused about the rules around a required minimum distribution. So here's the situation. He says, I have an annuity and other IRAs in banks. I'm over 75. I take all of my required minimum distributions out of those accounts, and usually extra. I don't understand the difference between my IRAs and 401ks. Aren't they the same? No. I mean, you may have had a 401k, but if you rolled it over, it's now an IRA. There are other people who just keep those 401ks as 401k plans. And that's the difference. It's a labeling difference. So if your account statement says IRA, whether it has stocks, bonds, cash, CDs, or an annuity inside of it, that is an IRA account, and there are rules about taking your required minimum distribution from that account. However, if you never rolled over your old 401k, the rules are a little different. Okay? And here's one other thought that comes from David. My annuity will only let me take out qualified charitable distributions on a percent that they calculate from my required minimum distribution, but I can take more out of my RMD if it's paid to me. I'm not sure why. Well, they can only transfer to a charity what the RMD is for that account. If you take out more than your required minimum distribution, then they're only letting you defer your required minimum distribution up to $100,000 for a charitable account. But I don't know why they wouldn't let you take out more. That seems odd. And the question is, can I take all of my RMD out of one IRA? Yes, you can, as long as it's an IRA and not a 401k. Again, there is a distinction. A lot of people do this. They confuse money they've rolled over from from your 401k. It's different, though. It's different. Okay? There we go. Okay. More on RMDs. I must have written about this. Who can remember when I did this? Good God. How much am I going to be required to withdraw from my 403Bs? You're going to find out. They'll tell you. So don't worry. I mean, basically, your 403, you will have, each of these accounts is going to tell you what you have to withdraw. It's actually, the rules require that of the custodian. So don't fret about that too much. Okay. There's more. Mark, these are like basically all RMD. It's like an RMD kind of question or segment. All right, let's try this one. Hi, Jill. How many mutual funds or ETFs do you recommend to have in your retirement account, your 401k, in your Roth, and an additional savings account? I don't know. I mean, if you have 20, that's too much. And if you have one, it's probably too little. Depends how much money you have. a few so you can get an allocation. Can you recommend 3 to 5 mutual funds for lifetime retirement account, 65 to 110? It depends how much money it is in there. It depends what your risk tolerance is. I can't give you that one. What's better, a mutual fund or an equivalent ETF? You know what? I love passive index funds, and I love using them in a smart way. If you want to add money to those accounts on an ongoing basis, they tend to be the best resource for that. An exchange traded fund is fine, but I don't want you to trade it, so I don't want you to be tempted to do that. But what you really sound like you need is some help. So how about you go get yourself some help? I think that's, to me, the most important part, which is, if you need help and you're kind of flying blind, go ask for some help. Get some help from a fiduciary, someone who's got to put your best interest first. How's my time? 3 minutes. Here we go. Do you have a list of trusted resources that you can recommend to consumers who are interested in learning about and possibly purchasing long-term care insurance? I don't think Policy Genius does that. There aren't that many long-term care insurance providers. I have to look that up. I'm going to look that up and get back to you, Rosalind. All right? And then Mark will send you a note. I will follow up with that. Sally writes, is it ever a good idea to take cash out of her retirement to pay off a loan? We outright own our home and own a condo in Florida with no mortgage. I don't love doing that. I mean, it would have to be that a loan is at such high interest rate and you're over the age of 59 and a half, so there's zero penalty. And it has to make sense because, we have a tax that's due on the money you withdraw, and then you pay off the loan. So that can be helpful, but I don't want you to use up your liquidity, Sally. That could be really an important piece here. So we want you to make sure that you have enough money sloshing around. If you're retired, a year of expenses in the bank. If you're still working, 6 to 12 months of expenses in the bank. Then I think you'd be okay. But don't be in such a rush. Before we go to the break, just a reminder, we have lots of fun stuff on the website. Mark has done such an amazing job populating that website with great content. So I write a lot, I talk a lot, I have old shows that are on there. We've got clips of appearances on CBS This Morning and CBS Evening News and any other videos that we might have. If you think it's like there's something going on in your financial life, especially if that's keeping you up at night, there's actually a way around that. Just send us a note. We can anonymize you. We can change your name. We can do whatever you want. You can come on the air and we'll change your name even then. If you have a very distinctive voice, well, look, that's going to be tough. Wouldn't that be funny, Mark, if we actually change the voice like it was like a 60 Minutes piece and they have to change the voice and ghost out the person and make it sound like a computer? We could have Siri maybe translate your voice. I can't hear you, Mark. You still haven't figured out how to turn that damn thing on, have you? It's a microphone. All right. It's Jill on Money. And when we return, so that, I would say to you, is the clear question. When we return, what are we doing next, Mark? Answering more questions? Okay. When we return, more of your great financial questions. All right. We'll see you in 2 seconds. Right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back with Jill on Money, and this is the program that helps you make sense of your financial life. I always feel like the first quarter of the year is, maybe it's really like the first 5 months of the year. We got him, Mark. We got him for 5 months. And then June, July, August, you're done for. I know. Well, I mean, you could keep sending us notes, etc. But, I mean, you're going to kind of be a little bit out of the loop for a few months. Then it's back to school. So then I got you for October, November, and half of December. That's it. You don't think even half of December, Mark? You think October, November, and that's it? Like until Thanksgiving? Well, there's always those year-end moves that people want to make. So we sometimes get a little bit of action then. But let's just put it at this simple statement, which is, while we got you, we're going to talk to you. We are catching up on emails that, have been piling up like crazy. And thank you to Lupe and Henry, who really were nudgy. It was fabulous because they sent us an original note and then it sort of got lost in the shuffle. Not really lost, but we just got slammed. Now we are happy to actually respond. So if you've got a question, ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Here is what they write. Or at least I should say Lupe is now writing. I've been a longtime fan of yours, and my husband is now a fan too. My name is Lupe. My husband's Henry. I've got 3 questions. Ready? Here's number 1. How much of a house should we get? What should be the monthly mortgage payments and loan amount? We know the bank will approve a lot more than what we really would like to pay on a monthly basis. That's number 1. Number 2. We want to manage our own exchange-traded funds through Vanguard. What is the best way to learn about investing? Are there any books you would recommend? Where was 3? I guess that there's maybe books is 3. Okay. So let's give you the background. These folks, 30 years old. She makes $82,000 a year. She maxes out her Roth IRA, thanks to us, has $15,000 budget. Savings for an emergency reserve fund, $50 a month, $3,000 balance. Joint house fund with the husband, $80,000. They've got ETFs, $250 a month, $4,000 balance. Car loan, 0% interest. Pension at work, $67,000 in student loan and debt, 6.2% interest. By the end of July, it'll go down by, that's good, by $17,000 because of the forgiveness plan. So let's see. There'll be $50,000 in student loan debt. It's not so horrible. So let's talk about how much of a house you should get. First of all, I think if you're, I know where you want to move because here's I got a little bit of the husband, but they want to move from New York City up to Westchester County. So the suburbs. I think that when you look at housing costs, if you wanted to sort of make it safe, you try to say, about a third of your take-home pay could go to the house, the mortgage, the taxes. I don't know if that's going to be possible for you, but I think I have a bigger issue that I want to really think about with you. I wish I had you on the phone. And that is, why buy right now? I don't know where what your rent is, but I think it's much more important that instead of having this $80,000 house fund, that you look at that $80,000 and say, well, wait a minute. Our emergency reserve really should be, I don't know, I'm going to make it up $30,000. So maybe you only have $50,000. And if you're really going to buy a house, why are you investing in exchange traded funds? And do you have a retirement plan through work? For you, I know you're using a Roth IRA, but you say you have a pension. Is there also some sort of retirement plan for you? The husband makes $127,000 a year. So they make about $200,000 a year. He has a retirement account, puts 10% away, and he also has a pension plan, no debt. So I don't know. I mean, it really depends on if you can find something that you'd want to live in for a cost that would be sort of similar to what you're paying in rent. That would be the key. And that's how, because you have all this extra cash flow, forgetting about the rules of thumb. In terms of the exchange traded funds, I'm not, I don't know exactly why you have the exchange traded funds, but as opposed to just index funds. But if you really want to just learn something, it's great to be on the Vanguard website. It's great. You might want to check out my friend Jack Otter's book, which is called Worth It, Not Worth It. But there are also some great websites like Fool.com is a really good website to learn about investing. And if it's exchange-traded funds or index funds, all you really need to think about is you want to have a stock, a bond, a cash, and an international. Those are your four. And the percentage you put in each would vary based on your risk tolerance and when you think you might use this money. But I'm really interested in learning more about, number one, how much rent are you paying right now? Number two, do you actually have a retirement plan through work, or are you just using this Roth IRA? And number three, why you feel compelled to buy a home. I'm not sure. That's a whole chapter in my upcoming book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. One of the dumb things is you buy when you should be renting. And I wonder if that's one of the mistakes you could be making. I don't know. All right. Thank you for writing. Give us some more details. We'll follow up with you. It's Jill on Money. And if you want to go pre-order the book, just hop onto the website, JillOnMoney.com. Click on the book and you can order it from whichever vendor you prefer. Okay. We'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money. Before we let you go to do your thing, we want to answer some more of your questions, and let's see if I can blow through two for the last segment. This is from Jay, who is recently started listening to the show, and he loves it, and he loves our delivery style. I say our because it's really me and Mark. My question is, should I start making extra payments on my current mortgage? The interest rate is 3.375%. I have some extra money that I save every month. I'm maxing out my 401k for me and my wife. Plus, we put $300 a month into 529 plans for each of my two kids. Current outstanding balance on my property is $260,000. Answer, easy. Don't pay that mortgage off. I'm sorry. That is such a beautiful rate. I would put more money into the 529 plan if you have extra money. I think that's probably a wiser decision. You didn't say what the balance is in terms of the amount of money in your 529 plans, but I think I think you're better off. It's a better use of your money to put that into 529 rather than pay down that mortgage. It's so cheap. So really, I really have to encourage you to keep it simple there. Okay, let's see if I can do one more. I'm trying, Mark. I'm trying to go fast because... Okay, here we go. This is from Jocelyn, who said, I just received my monthly statement and it is down. Would I benefit by taking my money out and putting it in savings? No, Jocelyn, come on. You got your year-end statement. You looked at it. December was a rotten month. And it's an IRA account, as you said, it's an IRA account. So no. Now, look, if you want to make a change in the account, it would really have to be not just because you lost money. It would have to be because fundamentally the person managing it, you don't like that person, you're being charged too much. So I'll tell you what, if the question is, do I just get out because I'm scared? No. But if the question is, would I be willing to talk with you through everything that's in that account? Absolutely. So why don't you give us a holler? Mark will follow up with you. We'd love to hear really what's going on in that account. Maybe you should move. I don't know. But not just because you lost money. Everyone lost money in December. Sorry. Okay, that's it. That is the show. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget, during the week, you can always send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. And don't forget to order my new book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. You can just go onto the website, JillOnMoney.com, click on the book section, and order them up. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.